All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar presentation event. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your presenter today. We're here to talk about chart of accounts corrections and deletions. It's about, well, on my computer, it's about a minute till 2, but I think we're pretty much right at the 2 p.m. Eastern Time hour here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. A few things before we get going here today on our topic. It's just me today. If you have questions, please type those in the questions portion or pane of your webinar control panel there. But I don't have anybody answering questions for me, so it's just me. I'll try to keep an eye on those, see what I can't do to provide an answer for you on it. I only ask that you do keep the questions topical, meaning this is about accounting, chart of accounts corrections and deletions. I'm not either equipped either in my data or in my thought process necessarily to handle questions on other topics or other modules. If you look on our current webinar events or our upcoming webinar schedule, we'll be getting out the August and September events here soon. Another one of the future webinars may better answer your question or be better suited to your question. I may also ask you to contact support with your question, simply because if it's specific to your data, again, I may need to have you answer some questions about your specific setup in your data or chart of accounts or what have you in order to be able to provide an answer for you. Not because I don't want to answer it, it's simply I need more information and I can't, okay? We're going to work until 20 minutes after 2. Thank you for attending. This particular webinar event is sort of it's a general topic, so chart of accounts corrections and deletions. There are a number of places and things we can do to help either clean up our chart of accounts or correct our chart of accounts setup or deal with deleting accounts. And so there's no one particular book or place in one of our workbooks that deals with everything on our topic today. And again, I'll try to squeeze in as much of it as I can in 20 minutes as possible. But there isn't really a place I can point us to in the workbooks that covers this exact topic per se. One of the things that we do want to point out is under our, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to go to youtube.com, Church Windows, take us to our YouTube channel. If you go to the playlists, right here under accounting, I believe we have an accounting webinar event that I just did about a couple weeks ago on deleting accounts. I'm pretty sure it's in here somewhere, but if you haven't visited this page, please do. There's an awful lot of free and available information on previous webinar events that is here. But I'm sure I don't want to spend a whole lot of time looking for it, but I'm not going to spend much time on deleting accounts today. I'm going to kind of touch upon it very quickly. And if you have more questions about it, please let us know. Okay, so again, chart of accounts, corrections, deletions, there's a lot we can do here. Let's go into accounting and let me just start where I started as I was building this outline for today's event. Just a few things that may help. If a lot of folks are unaware that if we go to manage accounts here into our chart of accounts window, here's our entire list chart of accounts, starting with assets, all the way down to liabilities, to fund balances, to income, to expense accounts, what have you, okay? You can actually change the names of your accounts right here. Maybe you weren't aware of that. But if you're going through and if part of your cleanup process is cleaning up the names of your accounts, whether it's like just adding the word, income to the end of income accounts or, expense to the names of your expense accounts, you can literally click right here, and if I go Senior Minister's Salary and Benefits, notice my cursor's flashing right there. I can just edit the account name. So let me go, okay, let me put in musician salaries and expense. Right there. I've gone in and edited that account name right here. I don't have to go anyplace else to edit it. I can do it right here at the chart of accounts. So yeah, a lot of folks don't know that, okay? Now, I can't edit the numbers here. Well, actually, I think I can. Yep. Yep, and it's telling me, notice that with the red X next to that, that it is that account number is already in use. So we would have to go back to another number of some kind that wasn't already in use. And I think I was going to go back to 192. Yep, see, it took that. So yes, I can edit those account numbers right here. The other option, so I can edit both the names and the numbers here on the chart of accounts if I wish. Other places you can edit account names would be if you go to your Tree View tab here to the right here in the upper right corner. See that there's a tab called Tree View right here. Oh, not a badly drawn arrow today. That if I again click on any particular account, I can simply right click on it and choose Edit, and it opens up my Edit Account window, allowing me to edit either the name or the number or the subtotal to which that expense, where that expense or that account shows. Okay? The same is true for funds. So if I, you can't ever forget we're dealing with a fund accounting system. So if I go, okay, I want to re-edit my, mission fund, I can simply right-click on it, choose Edit Mission Fund, and since there are 3 components that make up a fund, I can edit either the fund name, the fund balance account name, the account number, and or the subtotal again where that fund sits or shows up on my reports. So there's a lot of flexibility here at our chart of accounts window for editing or changing accounts. Okay. Just FYI. Now this is very helpful if you're, say, wanting to maybe change or work with a couple, maybe a handful of accounts, if you don't have that much cleanup to do, but not the extent of our cleanup process sometimes isn't always that simple. Sometimes there are some pretty severe changes that need to be made to our chart of accounts. So when we're doing that, we may need to go up to something like special functions up here and maybe go to this button or this option called change account number structure. So this is where when you click on that, it pops up and it says, while this screen is open, you'll have exclusive access to editing accounts. No one else will be able to make changes to accounts while you're in this screen. So basically, I have exclusive access to accounting at this point. Okay. Yeah, other users can get in, but they can't do anything to make changes to the accounts while I'm in here. Okay. So we click OK on that message. And assuming we don't have to change, the number of digits and the placeholders in our accounts, notice here on the left-hand side, we've got our account number before renumbering, and then right after that, next to that, account number after renumbering. Okay. So this is where you can go through and you can change numbers, lots of accounts, in basically one location. So you can click in the after renumbering, field here and notice my cursor's flashing in there. You can just edit your account and then move down to the next account and, etc. Just continuing down the chart of accounts until you're finished. Okay. Once we're done with that, then of course we would have to click the Save button up here in the upper right corner. That then would save our changes, and it will bark at you if it's trying to, if there's a conflict of some kind, whether there's a name conflict or a number conflict, it will flash that red dot at you saying, hey, I can't do this. There's some conflict, either the number's in use or the name's already in use somehow. Now again, this is handy if we're making changes to a large number of accounts and we want to do it in one location. Now, if we want to change our account numbers themselves, so let's say, we have example, our current numbers have 4 digits in them and we want to expand those to 6, or in this case we have 6 and we want to say expand them to 7, we would then go up to this option in the upper right corner labeled Change Structure right here. Okay. So once we click on that, then it'll open up my account number structure screen and allow me to either omit and stop using account numbers if you don't want to use them, albeit we strongly recommend that you do, or completely change my account number structure entirely, how many digits and how many placeholders. So let's say I did want to add one more trailing digit to my, change my 6-digit format to 7. I would simply type in an additional pound sign there, and we notice, or wherever you're wanting to do it with the placeholders, and notice my example changes, okay, accordingly. All right. So then once I had finished with that, I would simply click OK. And notice it's now added a trailing 0 to every single one of my account numbers right down the list. Okay. Same as I have seen before, whether I'm changing the numbers or in this case changing the account number structure, none of these options or none of these changes start to take effect until I click Save in the upper right hand corner. Okay. So if I was happy with that, adding the trailing zeros on that, albeit, I might want to take a look at my, accounts beforehand, before clicking Save. Okay. So once I click Save, it just saves the changes and it's a done deal. Okay. Changing account numbers or reducing those is a little different than actually taking numbers away. So you do have to be cautious, okay? Changing account numbers is only effective for the year that it takes place in. So because we're in our 2016 chart of accounts, the account number structure would not change for any other different accounting year, only my current chart of accounts. My other prior years would remain exactly as they were, okay? Again, even as part of your end of year procedure, you do have the option to start over and enter a brand new chart of accounts if you determine, or if the church decides that the current chart of accounts simply at all is unsalvageable. Okay, so if you can't, there's nothing about the current chart of accounts which is redeeming, by all means, as part of your end of year procedure, you can choose under Manage Years, Set Up New Accounting Year. There's a option right here called Create Empty Chart of Accounts. That allows you to then start over and to establish a very clear line in time between the prior chart of accounts and to adding and setting up an entirely new chart of accounts for the next year, if you determine that it's that bad. Okay? Also, the title or topic header of the webinar indicated talking about inactive accounts. I don't want to forget about that. Right here on any one of our accounts in our chart of accounts, on the Detail tab to the right, let me draw some focus here, Detail right here. Right below that, we've got a checkbox labeled Inactive. So if there's accounts that you're no longer using, you can come in here and you can mark an account as inactive. Okay, by simply putting a check mark in that box. Now, it's important to understand what inactive does and what it doesn't do. Okay, checking or marking an account as inactive does not remove that account or those accounts from your reports. All that does is tell the system we do not intend on posting any further transactions to this account. And so it will just simply, the account will not show up in your transaction screens to post to. So if I were to go to enter bills now and try to go in there and enter a bill, and I try to type in grounds and maintenance there, notice nothing shows up. That's an inactive account. The system will not allow me to post transactions to that account any longer. Okay? But it doesn't mean that the account won't show up on reports. Okay, it will, especially if you do something like under Reports, Financial Treasurer's Report, you include accounts with zero balance. Okay, that's the only thing that it looks at in terms of including or omitting accounts in most cases is, does the account have a balance or not? Okay, if there's no activity in it, even though it's inactive and I include accounts with zero balance, that inactive account will still show. Okay? Let's see if we can find that here, that grounds and maintenance, I think the one we had here. There it is, grounds maintenance right there. Yes, so even though, and yes, it does have activity for the current year, so even not including accounts with zero balance, that account still would show. Okay? But inactive status does not imply, or does not tell the system that the account should be omitted from reports. Okay? You can even have an account that has a balance that's still inactivated, as we've clearly seen on that grounds maintenance. To find your inactive accounts, it's as easy to go to your Manage Accounts and into your chart of accounts And down here in the lower left corner, down here, display options, show active, show inactive. So if we uncheck the box labeled show active, it will only reveal all of our inactive accounts only. And as we've clearly seen with something like our grounds maintenance, if I click the balance tab, I can still mark the account as inactive because I don't intend to post to it for the rest of the year, regardless of whether it has a balance. That's true for any account in the chart of accounts. Okay? So, inactive just simply prevents us from posting further transactions to that account, and the account still may show up on reports if I ask it to. Okay? So sure, now next year, if I don't intend on keeping any of these accounts, okay, assuming they have zero balances, and in the case of income and expense, they will automatically start 2017 with a zero balance, I can go right into 2017 and zap out these accounts, delete them from my chart of accounts. Okay? The other thing here is, many times what shows up here is, I get this call a lot of times on support, is I've had a couple of these today, in fact. A user calls me and says, hey Josh, I've got this income account and it's not posting, it's not crediting the proper fund. Okay, so that's actually pretty common. So the only place you can relink or change the linking of an income or an expense account after it's added to your chart of accounts is to go back into Manage Accounts and View or Manage Accounts into our chart of accounts. We would find the respective account, right down here, say Property Insurance, and right over here on the right-hand side, we see the menu called Fund. So right now, my property insurance is linked to my general operating fund. Okay, so let's say I want that account to be linked to a different fund, say my building fund. I would simply click the down arrow and choose Building Fund. And now, any activity, like in this case, my $3,614, I'll add $3,600 back into my general fund, and my building fund will be affected or reduced by this $3,600 now. Again, after the income account or expense account is added to the chart of accounts, the only place you can change its linking is right here on the Detail tab on the chart of accounts. Okay? And it is retroactive to the start of the year. So that whole entire, all of the entire year-to-date balance on that account will go from Fund A to Fund B and follow right along with the actual account. Okay? This is a very, very common support call. Users will set up and link accounts to the wrong fund all the time. And so we've tried to make it as easy as we can, but the only place you can do it is change it is right here under the Detail tab in the Fund menu. Okay? Jim, I hope that's answered that question for you about moving an account from one fund to another. I'm being also asked, will the account stay inactive for the succeeding year? You bet, absolutely. Once an account's marked as inactive, it'll carry forward that same inactive status into later accounting years. So all of all of that same setup should carry over into the new year. You bet, absolutely. Finally, with a couple of minutes left here, yes, there are deleting accounts. Again, when you delete accounts, it only occurs in the year you're deleting them. It doesn't affect any other accounting year. As we've seen here under our tree view, if I go to and I find, say, Thanksgiving offering, here's my offering income. It highlights that account. If I go to the tree view, if I right-click on it, you can delete accounts right on the tree view. Okay? If delete's in the menu, the account is eligible for deletion. Again, handy if there's only only a few accounts that we're wanting to work with. But again, if you've got larger numbers of accounts you want to clean up or get rid of, you may want to go up to Manage Accounts, Accounts Plus Minus, and maybe up here to say something like Expenses. Here's my general operating fund. And then down the left-hand side, notice here I've got this delete column. Accounts that have NA are ineligible for deletion, but any of them that have the checkbox available can be deleted. So I could literally just go down the list. Let me get back my cursor here. Just check delete. Just go down the list and click on those. And then simply click delete selected accounts at the bottom. It will ask me to confirm each of those. one at a time, am I sure? But that would be the en masse method of deleting accounts. And finally, the larger and bigger of the two ways of deleting the accounts en masse would be go to Manage Years and this feature here called Delete Unused Accounts. Okay, folks, it's 20 minutes after. I'm done what I'm talking about here in trying to be respectful of your time. Thank you if you've got to dive out of the webinar. We hope some of these tips have been helpful for you. I'll be happy to stick around and see what I can't do to answer questions, but again, I'm done with what I what I set up as part of the topics to cover. So let me see what questions we've got here. Yeah, you can choose File and Leave Webinar or exit out of it if you need to. Thank you again. We hope to see you in a future webinar. Being asked, who determines accounts ineligible for deletion? Well, it's not really who as much as what conditions or factors. If an account has a balance, you can't delete it. If it has transactions posted, basically, Ruth, the account cannot be deleted. So if it has, if it has activity, if it has a balance, if it has a beginning balance, the account will not be able to be deleted. That Church Windows decides that for you. It's again, there's an audit trail that it's trying to preserve, and if those conditions, if we did permit that to occur without that, then the audit trail would be broken. So yeah, you bet. So yeah, you'd want to make sure that you want to get those accounts to zero before the end of the current year, carry forward, zero balance with no activity into the new year, then the accounts should be able to be deleted. Great question. Once marked inactive, is it any problem to reactivate the account if you want to use it at a later date? Absolutely not. So if I go into my inactive, into my chart of accounts, uncheck show active, and I go, oh, I didn't mean to inactivate my, grounds and maintenance expense, I can simply remove the inactive check mark from the inactive box, and that account is back in my active accounts. Good question. Great questions. Folks, one of the most common support problems I see, and I've been doing this for almost 15 years, is the chart of accounts for many, many churches, simply users don't understand how it works, and so they just simply won't go in and clean out their chart of accounts annually. So before you know it, a user has a 30-page chart of accounts, and they only used 10 pages of those. So they're unaware that deleting accounts in one year does not touch those same accounts in another year. Okay? So go in and do annual maintenance on your chart of accounts. Delete unwanted accounts in 2017. Okay? If you delete an account you still need, you can just re-add it back to the chart of accounts. It's that simple. Will this webinar be available on the recorded webinars listing? You bet. Bob, that'll be there between now and the close of business, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday this coming week. Good question. All right, let me see. Are there any other questions coming in here? Well, I'm not seeing anything. I know, folks, sometimes questions can be a little lengthy to add there, to type in, but I'm not seeing anything else coming in. It's your chart of accounts, folks. So, Church Windows certainly tries to protect the data as much as it can for you, but ultimately it's your chart of accounts. If there's something you need or want to do with it and you're unclear about how to do it. If you can, please pick up the phone and give us a call. Myself or any of our technicians are certainly glad to help. Great. Thank you all so much. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Folks are diving out. I'll go ahead and end the webinar for everybody, and we hope to see you at another webinar. Thank you all so much. Take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.